why does not scaffolding your working memory actually decrease your motivation to engage in the right behaviors? So I'm going to go through an example of how a middle-level student might engage in their class in the first 20 days of school. And then that's going to help us talk about how scaffolding working memory is going to increase student motivation. And when we talk about student motivation, I need to clarify a term. When I say student motivation, I don't mean that there is a student in front of you who is all excited about learning. Motivation and enthusiasm are two different things. Okay, so when we talk about a motivated student, we're not talking about somebody who's super excited to put on rubber gloves and clean a toilet, because that's not how any of us really are. It is okay to say that hey, do we have to do this right now? Okay, I guess I'll get started, is a good enough response from an adolescent student to say that they're motivated to get started. How does scaffolding working memory increase student motivation? What you'll see on your screen is the mnemonic THIEVES. So THIEVES is a strategy for skimming and annotating nonfiction. We often say it's a before reading strategy. And then for my middle and high school students, I often say you should only do it for about 3 minutes, but that's just a guideline, not a rule. And so what we're doing when we put this in front of students is we're saying, hey, here's a strategy. If you see a person in the hall and they say a thing to you and your working memory is overloaded, you have written it in your diary, asked them to send you a message, sent yourself a message on your phone, written it on your hand, or done something else. You have attached your own personal strategy to make sure that that goes into your longer term memory. You make neural connections, that you are doing something with it, and so that it eases the burden on your working memory. It eases the cognitive load. That's what this is. So we're going to do this one together so that you can see that student motivation, the desire to engage, lift up my hands and engage in a task in a classroom, will be increased if you scaffold my working memory, if you stop the load on my working memory where I have to remember multiple things. So when we look at THIEVES, we actually make students memorize THIEVES. T on the left-hand side, title. This is nonfiction, remember, so nonfiction follows certain rules. There's often a title. There are many times headings that are put into a piece of nonfiction so that the reader can follow the logic of the writer. Introduction tends to be towards the beginning, but that's tricky. That's an experiential thing for students to learn because I've got to know the difference between a hook and an introduction. Every first sentence in a paragraph is often the topic sentence and tells you something about the main idea, though not always, again, experience. Visuals and vocabulary often give us clues as to what's going on in the text. The ending or conclusion tells us often a summary. And then the so what is asking students to reflect quickly and say, like, why is this important? Why would we care? And so THIEVES is a super important strategy for adolescents, and it lightens the load on working memory. It scaffolds working memory for students to memorize THIEVES, because what it does is it gives them that coping strategy of, hey, there's this nonfiction text in front of me. I know what to do to lighten the load for engaging in it, and then I'll be able to actually comprehend and connect and do all of the things I need to do in my rigorous curriculum. So here's an example text to skim. So this is from Pop Science, How to Stream Movies and Shows Without Destroying Your Sleep. So let's go ahead and use THIEVES. So a student who's memorized THIEVES would, instead of looking at this and groaning and saying, I don't know what to do here, would immediately start annotating and marking up their text. So a T would go next to the title, and they would ask themselves, what do I know about this? How to stream movies and shows. I know what streaming means without destroying your sleep. Yeah, I don't sleep either. Have your screen time and sleep well too. I don't know what that is. Maybe it's the title. Then they would jump to the headings. We can see some headings there. Take breaks between episodes and set an episode limit. We'll see more as we go through the text. And so they would mark those as headings and ask themselves, well, what's the purpose of the heading? Take breaks between episodes, set an episode limit. Oh, you're telling me what to do. Oh, okay. Well, this is a how-to. It's a technical article. So already the student is doing what we would normally hold their hand in doing, because if we had given them the verbal directions that just said, hey, annotate this. Hey, I need you do a deep dive into this text and then we'll all pull together in 10 minutes. They don't have a strategy for doing it. You're asking them to do too much. And so then they would look at the introduction. If we take a look at the first paragraph, we'll see that the first paragraph is not the introduction. It's actually a hook. The second and third paragraphs combined would be the introduction. And so the student would have to take a minute and look at that. And that is something that, we could give feedback on as we go. And then they would say, hey, I know sometimes that first paragraph is a hook, so let me check a few of them before my first header. Again, these are things that we develop over time. It eases the load on working memory because they have some tips and tricks. So then they might think, I don't know where I am. They say, I've already done my title. I've already done my headings. I is introduction. E, every first sentence in a paragraph. They might say to themselves, okay, I'm going to underline those and read them. We're just going to jump ahead to visuals and vocabulary. We don't have any highlighted vocabulary in here. Sometimes we do. We do have autoplay loop in quotes, so that's a reserved term for connection. They might mark that, and we don't have any visuals in this one. So then we're going to jump to our E ending, which we'll do on the next slide, and then we'll do a so what. So we can see the rest of the headings right here. Avoid using your phone in bed, control the light. They'd mark those as headings and say, this reinforces or this proves that they're telling me what to do. That gives them a chance to say, this is a technical article. It's a how-to. It's already in the title. It says how-to, and now they can explain. This is the genre. We're going to go to the so what. You'll see there's some more how-to there. There is not actually an ending. There's not a conclusion to this article aside from the recommendation that we sleep a few hours a night and then a chatty ending of you don't need to give up your binge watching, but these tips should let you get a handle on your viewing habits and make you feel a lot better. So they'll mark that as the ending or conclusion, and then they'll say to themselves, all right, the so what of this article is when you binge watch, you aren't getting enough sleep, so here are some ways to control things. So what we've done in this use of thieves as a scaffold for our working memory is we've given children a scaffold so that when they engage in a text, they don't have to remember 7 things. We've chunked the entire strategy into one thing. Hey, this looks like nonfiction, where I've been cued to know that it's nonfiction. I'm going to use thieves. They can write thieves in the corner of their paper and then check each letter off as they go. And so we've taken 7 things, or an unknown field of, I guess I need to be doing a thing, but I don't know what it is and I don't know how to get started. And we've changed that step, that nebulous task or that 7-step process into one, which is I need you to fluently start thieves. When we do that, we're reducing the cognitive load. We're reducing the load on working memory so that students can spend their time trying to figure out what the words mean, decoding, making sense of the sentence construction and what the subordinating and coordinating conjunctions are telling them for things like cause and effect or compare and contrast. If we don't have a strategy for students to engage in the reading, what we're doing is we are wearing out their working memory. We are exhausting the basic access of the text by just saying, what should I be doing right now? But if we have a strategy for students to engage in, their working memory can completely focus on the sentence that's in front of them, making the inferences and connecting to their prior knowledge.